to see about how to write a code in C for arithmetic calculations like addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division. So today we are going to discuss most of that. So here I've already opened the Dcoder app, and let's get started. What we are going to do is hash include stdio.h. We're going to main function and then curly braces. So now for arithmetic calculation you are going to need integers. So I'm basically taking two integers a and b. So I'm going to define integers as int a comma b, and for addition I'm taking add variable, and then for subtraction I'm taking a sub integer variable. For multiply I'm taking mult. For division I'm taking div. So these are the integers that I have now designed, and then let's for we are going to take input from the users. So for two integers we need printf enter any two numbers. Okay, so here's the thing. Now to store that I'm going to use a scanf function. Now this time I'm taking two integers, so I will need %d two times, %d %d. After that I'm storing it in and a. So first integer will be stored in a, and then second integer will be stored in b. So this is how you save two numbers taken from user into two respective variables. Now what I'm going to do, I'm defining add is taken as integer, so add is going to take as a plus b. This is defined, and I want to print the add value. So printf, I'm going to take a \fn because I want to print it in a new line. Addition of %d and %d is %d. So I'm gonna take it as a comma b comma add. So first %d will in output the number of a, then second %d will output the number stored in b, and third %d will output the number which is stored in add. So that is all. I'm gonna terminate it now. So it is now, so I want to now subtract from those numbers. So I'm defining sub equals to a minus of b. So this time I'm not considering of any signs. That means I don't want a mod value, so even though a will be less, it will output me as a negative number. So that's what I wanted. Sub equals to a minus b, then I want to print it as printf the \n subtraction of %d and %d is, so here I'm on a space, is %d. Okay, again comma a comma b comma sub. So it's gonna be like this. Okay, so now we have done addition and subtraction. Now I'm going to multiply those numbers, so I'm going to define as mult equals to a cross b. Then I want to store that in printf multiplication of %d and %d is %d. So again a comma b comma mult. So we have done with three arithmetic operation. Now I want to make a division of those numbers. So div equals to, so what happens in division is you will get a quotient, you will be printed with the quotient of the thing. But since I have taken div as an integer, so it will just give me the integer value rather than giving a decimal value. So suppose if I took 25 divided by 10, so it will just give me 2 as the division output. But if I want the numerical value also, so I have to change there as div to be into float. So I will tell you this later on. So first of all, we will do as normal, a by b. Okay, so now printf, and now I'm going to take division of %d and %d is %d. Now it is storing again a comma b comma div. Okay, so I guess it's all we have done as multiplication, division. So first of all, I'm taking div to be as integer value. Then I'm going to show you that once I change div to a float value, it will give me a decimal value. But since now it is an integer value, it will just give me an integer value. So I'm just going to put two numbers like 15 and 10. So these are my two input values. I put it on. Now if I'm going to run the loop, okay, so here's the thing, enter the two numbers. So I entered the two numbers, addition of 15 and 10 is 25. Okay, I guess I haven't put the backslash of n, so I have to put here also backslash of n, backslash of n. So now when I'm running this, see, enter the two numbers, I entered 15 and 10. So addition of 15 and 10 is 25, subtraction of 15 and 10 is 5, multiplication of 5 and 10 is 150, and division of 115 and 10 is 1. Now the reason it gave 1 is because I took division as an integer value. So instead of coming as 1.5, it came as 1. So when I change div to a floating variable, I'm just gonna remove from here. I'm gonna assign it as a float variable div. So since I took a float variable, I also have to make here, instead of %d, I have to make it as %f. So I will have to make here %f because I have taken now div as a floating variable. So now when I will run it, it will give me as div division of 15 and 10 is 1. Now why it is giving still 1? Can anybody tell? The reason is because now this we are going to assign here as float a cross b and float. Okay, so they are multiplication. I'm sorry, I put it in the wrong variables. I have to keep float here and float here also. So let's try changing it. See, now it gave me as 1.5 as an integer. Now this, why this happened is because since I took a and b also an integer value, so even though if I, it will treat it as an integer value, even though div will be treated as floating variable. But since a and b were not taken as a float variable, they were not going to be treated as floating, so they will still be giving me output as 1 only. Now when I make the changes, making a as float and b as float, I got an output of 1.5. So this is how you change means floating variable affects how you do things. Okay, so that is all for all today, guys. Hope to see you. I'll put more videos on this, and do watch and subscribe it. Just subscribe my channel.